Okay, so I wanted to give you a quick guide to getting started with Final Cut Pro 10, and I want to show you how you can import files, how you can edit them, and also how you can actually share it as well. Now, with different versions of Final Cut Pro, it can vary a little bit, but hopefully it looks like this. This one here is version 10.2.3, which I believe is the latest one at the moment whilst I'm recording this. So what do we have here? Well, there's lots of little windows, and some of them you may or may not see on yours, and I'll show you how you can actually bring them in. I'm going to load up some video clips, audio and images as well in just a moment, and they will go over here. To play back, this is your window, like your little TV monitor on screen. Over here on the right hand side is the inspector, where you can see properties such as audio level, position on the screen, if you want to change the color, grade things. And down the bottom here you've got a whole bunch of assets that you can put in that are built in, such as if I click over here, you've got video effects, so you can make, as you can see here, aged film. You can do what's called chroma key, green screen, blue screen, where you can substitute different things into the background. You've got images that you can load here that are already on your machine, music and effects, so you can actually look up different sound effects if you need them, transitions, titles, and you've also got different generators as well. So you've got generators for creating backgrounds, curtains, all sorts of other effects, as well as some text here. So if you can't see this, if I was to close that, so you've now got more space. This block down the bottom here is the timeline. So that's where you're going to be putting your clips in the right order. And over here, this is your audio meter, so you can see what level your audio is at. If I need to get that back, I just simply click on one of these and it comes back. This inspector here, if you can't see it, it's because of this button here on the right hand side in the middle. If I click on it, it disappears, giving you a bigger playback window. If I click on it, it comes back. So I want to load some video and audio and images into here. So that's where we really need to start. So it's got here Open Library, and the library is like a container or folder containing all the things you need for a particular project. And some people I've seen, and I started doing this myself, used to put everything, or do put everything, all into one big folder, and it is basically a file, and you'll see that in a moment. I'm going to create a new library because I like to now break things down into projects. So sometimes that is a client, sometimes it's a particular event, sometimes it's a particular project that I'm working on. So to do that, I'm just going to go into File, go to New, and choose Library. And I'm going to put it here into this folder, and I've got one here called Essential Video Skills Training, and I'm going to call this one Training, and I'm going to click on Save. Right, I'm just now going to go to my Finder over here, and you can see I now have something that looks a bit different. So you can see I've got this one here called Training, and it basically looks like a file, but actually behind the scenes it's a folder, and it's going to contain everything that you put in there. You can see it's quite small at the moment. This will get really big. It contains preview files, and the good thing is you can move that from computer to computer and not have to worry about where are all your files, and I'll show you more about that in just a moment. You'll also see I've got some footage here in the video folder, images and audio, and I'm going to show you right now how you can actually import that. So I'm over here, here's my training. So what I want to do, that's my library. I'm going to make an event, and that event you can think of as like a folder where you're creating everything just for this particular one. They do actually come up automatically as well, but I'm going to go File, New and Events, and I'm going to call this Training Session 1, and I'm going to put everything into there. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click here on that event, and you can see it's automatically, sometimes it does this, puts in a project. So each event could have multiple projects. So let's say you're doing some training like I am here, and I wanted to create an event, which is this Training Session 1, and I wanted to create multiple videos for it. I could put them in here. So the first one might be getting started, the second one might be importing files, the third one might be actually doing something like creating how to export your files as well. So just in case you didn't have that Untitled project come up automatically, you just go into File, New, and choose Project. And you can give it a name such as Getting Started and click on OK. I just pressed enter. You can change the name of them. So this Untitled project here, if I click on it, you can see I can now highlight that in there, and I could call this one Exporting Video. And there you go. So that's it in there for you. So down at the bottom here in the timeline, at the top, it says Getting Started. If I was to double click on the Exporting Video, you see it changes here. So double clicking takes you backwards and forwards for them. The nice thing about doing this is you can use the same clips in both of these very easily. Down here on the timeline, you'll see there's an arrow here where I can go back to Getting Started, or I can go forward to Exporting Video, and you can have a whole load of them open here. So let's just go to that Getting Started one. It doesn't matter which one I'm on actually for the importing. You can go into File and choose Imports and Media, and I'm going to bring across the video files. So they're in here. I'm just going to, let's go into Essential Video Skills Training, go to Video, and I could just choose one, or I can do Command A to select all of them, or I could have clicked and dragged over them. I could also click and hold Command down and just choose not random ones, but ones that aren't next to each other. So the most important thing over here on the right hand side is it says add to existing event, and it says training session, which is the event that we're in, so that's fine. But if you had another one, you could choose it from there. I would leave that. You can copy it to the library, so it's going to put everything into that one container. If you're struggling with space, you could leave the files in place. Problem is if you then take it to another computer, you've got to make sure everything comes with you. I'm not going to worry about any of this transcoding keywords, analyze for color balance or anything like that. I'm now just going to click on Import All. It would say import if I hadn't selected all of them. So I'm just going to import all of them, and you can see they are now coming in here, and they're broken down by date. And you can see over here, it's indicating how far through the import process it is. And if I scroll down here somewhere, you can often see a little indicator telling a little circle that's going around like a little clock telling you the kind of progress. But they've actually all imported very quickly, or it could be this one here is just hard to see. So actually, whilst I was doing that, you can see that as I move the mouse over it, you can see it's giving me a preview of what's in there, so you can find what you're looking for. And by the way, that's called scrubbing. So you scrub over the video and it comes up here in the preview window. Okay, so I am now just going to import the images and also the audio. So the other way you can do that is to go into your Finder, go to Images. I'm going to highlight all of these and click and drag them over, so you can actually click and drag that in. And I could do the same as well. I've got some audio, just a little backing track here, and I can click and drag that across too. And that has put all of that in. You can see here on the audio, it's got this indicator showing you what the audio looks like. So you've got all your peaks and troughs. This is like the waveform of your audio. So let's add a clip in, because I'm sure you're all very keen to do that. So over here, I've got some clips. I've got this one here. That one's actually just an image. And over here, let me just choose one of this clock here, and you can see that's moving along. And I could just, you can see it's selected it all. It's put this border around it. And I could click and drag that and just pop that straight into the timeline. But I want to choose where I want to start, and you can amend this later. So what I'm doing is I'm going across here, and I could just click. If you press you can press the play button here, or you can press the space bar. So the space bar is a pretty much industry standard that if you press on it, it's going to start playing. So if I do that, if I press play, and I think there, that's exactly the point that I want, or is it? You can adjust frame by frame exactly the point that you want. So I'm using the back button, I'm just going the back arrow and I'm just going back one frame at a time. Let's pick it up from there. All I have to do is tell it that that is my in point, and I press I for in. I now need to choose my out point, which could just be the very end, so I could leave it. But just so you know, I can press the play button and I can look to see the point that I want. However, I might want to speed that up. If you press the L key, every time you do, it speeds it up. Press the spacebar or K and it will stop. You can do the same going backwards by pressing J, goes backwards, and each time you press it, it goes faster and faster. So that's the point that I want. If I press O for out, you'll see it is now just done that selection, and I can simply click and drag it and drop it down the bottom here. So there we go, that's playing very nicely. And you can see my playhead down here, and I can move that backwards and forwards. So I'm just going to go to the end there. I'm just going to choose another clip. None of these clips are really related. Here's one from the British Museum, and I'm just scrubbing through. Now look at the left-hand side here. Just as those people come in, just before, that's where I want it. So I can check using the arrow keys. There we go. So let's go back to the umbrella is out, press in, and there we go. I don't need much more of that, so I'm just going to pause it or stop, press O for out, click and drag that in. I want to put a clip in between. So let's just do it so where these people are out of shot. In, let's play it, and not the most exciting shot in the world, but nevertheless there's some people going in ready to enjoy the British Museum. Let's do O for out. I didn't pause it there, so maybe a bit of a random shot. So I want to put it in between these two shots, so I can very simply click and drag it. You'll see that other one moves out of the way, and you can now in your timeline move them around. So you can click and drag there, you can click and drag there, and that's how you do it. So that's easy how to put the clips in there. So really it's now down to your imagination. So the other thing that I want to do is I didn't really do a very good job of trimming this one, of choosing the out point. So I can do that here. So I'm going to press play, and I think that's enough actually. So what I'm going to do is if I move my mouse to the right hand edge of that clip, you'll see that it changes with this double-headed arrow with what looks like a film strip underneath. If I click and drag, it will actually snap to that line. Now, the reason it snaps to it, which kind of clicks into place, is because just over here on the timeline, I have this snapping selected. If I didn't, I could go a little bit more exactly where I want, and actually I would have to sort of choose it just right. But you can also see if I've made the clip too short, I can go back and add that back in. So it's not destroying what you've got, it's keeping everything there. So that's how you can do it. You can add in transitions here, a really important thing that people like to do. Over here on this bar, I can choose transitions. Very popular one is cross dissolve. All you do is click and drag it and drop it onto there, and what you will see is that it will now fade from one to the other, or dissolve from one to the other, and I'm going to add that in to the other one. Okay, so I'm not going to go into lots of detail. I've got other video clips showing you how to do more editing, and what I'm going to do now is just show you that you can actually put images in as well. So I've got a still image at the top here. I can also click and drag that in, and again I can just click and drag to increase or decrease the length of that. That doesn't need to be there very long. And I've got another image here. Let's pop that in. As you can see, they're all a little bit random, and I might just choose let's just choose something maybe a bit different. Let's go for a clone spin so you can see just how huge some of these effects actually are. That's probably just a bit too close, but you'll see that you can choose lots and lots of different effects. Okay, might make you a little bit dizzy, but nevertheless, there you go. That's how you can do it. I'd like to put a backing track in, and for that, down at the bottom here, it's in date order. The oldest one is down the bottom in this case. I am going to click and drag that backing track in. Actually, that's way too much. So let's just play it. You probably can't hear any of that. Let's just choose in from here. I'm not quite sure which bit it's actually taking. Just go a little bit faster. Let's go out because I can adjust it afterwards. Let's just pop that in. I pop it in underneath, and audio goes down the bottom, and you can have multiple layers, and you can see I'm just dragging to bring that out. So I can adjust the volume, click here, over here in my inspector. If I haven't got it, don't forget you can click here. There is a volume control, so you can increase and decrease it by using that slider right there, and there's more on audio in another video. Same again here on a clip. If I had any audio here, and I think I might do on this British Museum, and you can actually see, actually if I just click off it's easy to see, you can see there's a little waveform down here, so I know there's some audio there. And now if I click on that one, it's got more options. It's got video, audio, and I might want to just drop that down. So if I play it, I've now got music going in the background. So let's just put the volume up. There we go, so you can actually hear that. So that's what you can do to kind of get started. I did actually put in a little countdown clock here as well. Sort of thing we used to see at the movies, I suppose. What you see, it's called an identifier. I'm going to put that at the beginning just to give everyone a bit of suspense. I just click and drag. Sometimes you wait a moment and then it appears. So here is my video. It's giving a little countdown. So building a little bit of suspense, I suppose, and away we go. So that's a very quick clip, and what I want to do now, by the way, Final Cut Pro is saving all the time, so you don't need to worry about that. I'm going to go into File because I want to export it, so I go File, Share. I've got some extra ones in here, some customized ones that I've created. You can choose where your output is going to be, such as YouTube or Vimeo, Facebook. Apple devices 720p and Apple devices 1080p are not limited to just those. So actually, I use the Apple devices 1080p. That's high resolution. That's the 1080 high definition, of which a lot of people shoot their video in, and you can use that. If you want the slightly smaller high definition, then you could use the 720p, which is perfectly acceptable for many cases. These two will upload to Vimeo and YouTube as well. I also can use these on many devices, not just Apple devices, but other smartphones as well. And there's a lot of other media servers that I've been able to upload these to. So I'm just going to choose this Apple devices, and it will pop up. There's the information. I can click on some settings. You can see there's the resolution. I could change it here to something lower. And it's the format is Apple devices. Let's just keep it there. And it's even giving you an estimate of how big that file is going to be. So when you click on next, where do you want to put it? I'm just going to put it in this file. It's picked up the project name, Getting Started. You can change it. I'm going to leave it as that. And then I'm just going to click on Save. Over here in the middle, this little button here, this little rather graphic, shows you the percentage of it being exported. If you were to click on that, it will show you all your background tasks, because this is considered a background task, and that is the sharing one. And if I close that, you can just go back, and depending on the speed of your machine, you can carry on editing without really noticing any difference in performance. So that is kind of a very quick guide to getting started with Final Cut Pro. I do have other videos that I'm creating. Keep a lookout for them. They'll be there very soon, so that you can see a bit more detail about editing and some of the other clever things that you can do, such as split screens, chroma key, green screen, all that kind of thing, and more about using some of these transitions and other tools. But this should be able to help you create a very basic edit. So there we go. It's done that. If I flip over to my Finder, there it is, Getting Started. Some people like to change that to, say, MP4. It's a bit more of a standard, I guess, more common. And if I was to, well, press the space bar, it'll give me the preview and start playing, so you can see it kind of a bit more full screen. So there you go. that's how you can get started with editing with Final Cut Pro.